to say, what's our objective here? Watch the clock. So this one we could really benefit from. In an NFL game, they're always watching the clock. They know how much time they have for the play. They know how much time they have for the quarter. They're looking for the 2-minute gun. They're always watching the clock. And for us, that's the schedule that we put in front of our clients. We commit to a schedule, and we need to watch that at all times and play to that, right? So there's certain things you do when you have 5 minutes left in a game versus when you have 30 seconds left in the game. And so we need to adjust our plays based upon how much time is left. Always be moving the ball forward. So I think we just need to make sure that the activities that we're doing aren't just that activities. They're actually movement. For those of you who had the benefit of spending time with Tom Searcy, he calls it movement versus motion. So are you actually moving it forward, or are you just creating motion, right? So the idea of movement over motion is something we could take away. Know what our first down is and define those, and actually celebrate them, by the way, maybe with our clients. So know what it means to get just that next incremental step. We're just going 10 yards, and let's get there, and then let's go to the next 10 yards. And we're coming up with this idea of our project plans being in iterations, and maybe those are our first downs, right? But what is that first down, and let's get to that, and then let's focus on the next first down. Be clear. And I think there's some value in this. Be clear as for who is first, second, and third string. Even if they're playing on the field, it doesn't necessarily mean they're first, second, or third string. And that's important because we need to know it internally as an organization in the way we're running our plays. But the person playing needs to also understand that there's an opportunity to go from third to second to first string. You just need that opportunity to get into the game, and you need the right coaching around you and the right team around you to be able to get you there. But we can get you to be first string. And then have a kickoff and maybe even a halftime. But we need to do a way better job at kicking off our projects as a celebration, if you will. It's a big event. And let's kick it off like a game's actually kicked off. And then something we don't do a lot of, and how about after the game's over, let's go back and watch reels and see how we actually did and learn from it. So that's the end of the education. Here's my first step forward into 2012. And my first step forward is let's just focus on 3 things. Let's focus on the setup, let's focus on playing, and let's focus on the scoreboard. So the setup is let's define the roles and what are the key outcomes we're looking for from each one of those roles. What are all the roles inside of Crown as it relates to being on the field? I'm pretty sure it's a shortened subset of what we think that it actually is. And we just need to standardize what those are across all of our business. Number 2, what are the qualities or the competencies of those roles? So what are the hard skills that they have to have? 4-4-40 or 4-2-40, if you will. And what are the soft skills? They need to be smart. They need to think quick. Those are NFL skills. What are our hard and soft skills? And let's define those internally, know where we're at, and then as we recruit people in, let's look at those. And then let's look at our roster. So once we know the roles, let's look at our roster and say, do we have the right folks for those roles? And what levels do we have? So we don't just want one first-string quarterback, if you will, because what if he gets hurt? We need a second and a third string in case we get multiple projects or in case he gets hurt or whatever. And then let's separate all that from actually playing. So playing is about the players running plays with coordinators actually making those calls. Coordinators mean folks on the sidelines actually saying, let's run this play or let's run this play. And so let's get in more of a habit of thinking about players and coordinators and running plays and knowing what those are. And Chip and the gang have done a good job at taking us more towards the scoreboard with this concept of the core score. So what's the core score for each one of these programs that we're doing? What's our win? And for us as a company, we have some revenue and cost and gross margin targets, but as if not more important are the customer experience targets we have. What's the net promoter score that we're looking at for a company, and how does what we're doing at each individual client support that? What's the duration we're targeting for spending or being with the client? Are we trying to get in and get out in 3 months? Or are we trying to actually be a partner over the next 10 years like we have for some other clients? And then the core score being, what is that actual value? So that's what I wanted to share. I had a little bit of free time last night, and so I did a bracketology for us, and this was just to have fun. And the idea here is, we're down to four practices. And so Lynn wanted me to talk about our teams, if you will. Our teams are the WCM team, the EPM team, the e-business team, and the ECM team. Those are our teams, and I went backwards to fill it out to say, here's my version of where it actually came from. You guys got to buy, actually. So, because I couldn't figure out what it was. And I clicked when I saw your EMM, Len, because I forgot we called it EMM. I don't know if that was before or after we called it interactive marketing, but eventually morphed its way into accelerating digital marketing and now the e-business practice. But those are our teams, right? And so let's focus our roles and our plays around the teams that we have. And by the way, different teams can have different plays. And different teams can run different plays and operate differently. They can do West Coast versus smash mouth football. But just know what works for that team and the players that are on that team, I think, is the important thing. My last thing is, if you haven't seen Moneyball, go see Moneyball. It's a really good movie, and it's good just outside of the fact that it's a good movie. It's good as it relates to this. I know it's baseball and not football, but watch these things. Watch for how the general manager works with the coach, and watch what happens when they don't work together. It's interesting to see what happens. Watch how they plan the season for recruits. Watch how they recruit the players, how they evaluate which players to recruit, how they look to fill a game plan rather than hire superstars. It's really interesting how they go through that. And then how they make superstars out of the whole team, as opposed to have one or two superstars on the A's. And then watch how they use analytics to guide this whole process and feed this whole process and evolve this whole process. It's really amazing how they started the season and ended the season. And they did it that quickly. And we could really learn from that. And so it's a really good movie. I suggest you all go see it. I'm not sure it'll be approved if you expense it, but it's worth going to see. If you can slide it in, that's up to you. So that's all I have. Len, did we have time for conversation around it?
We still have about 25 minutes, it looks like, if you want to take Q&A or have a little discussion.
I do. I want to take Q&A or have a discussion. I'm going to start with Kevin. What do you think?
I need to go out and see Moneyball. I think it's a great analogy. I think you built it out. I like it. I think it's dead true. We need to. I think we have the talent, frankly, and I think we can be the Steelers. And what's great about it is that I think we have the talent of Cincinnati. But we can put ourselves together like the Steelers and really do some things.
The other Kevin.
My biggest thing is when we actually went through and did the depth chart and kind of see where people fit. It's really easy to identify where you have holes within your practice, where you're missing those players. So
it's a good insight.
And where you're overlapping,
yeah,
which is a big issue, at least in the EPM practice, where we have players that can play multiple positions, and we fail to plan that if they're playing wide receiver, we can't put them at running back too.
Right. Very good. Nick, you were shaking your head quite a bit. What do you think?
I think it just makes a lot of sense from the top down. Having roles defined and calling plays is something that we will benefit, I think. We've gone into a lot of projects with a lot of unknowns, and having a set play and set roles can only help you deliver better.
Alex, you're a victim of some of this. What do you think?
I like all the analogy. I think it's an excellent framework to more well define, how we, who's doing what, and what we're just having a solid plan.
And that's what it's about. It's not about football, right? It's about using that as an analogy for getting a solid plan in place and having a playbook and running a playbook.
And I'd like to see more interaction between the back office and the front office and the players.
Just remember, though, the back office isn't in the huddle, right?
I agree. No, but I'm talking about it's nice to know, especially like receivables and things like that, and expenses to have that working timely, and having communications. I think would help Crown a lot.
You're itching to say something, Rob. Thank you for the helmet, by the way.
You're welcome.
I'm sure it'll be on YouTube or Facebook real soon.
I think, from my perspective, this would make it a lot easier also to communicate to our customers. I mean, they have a very important role, and this is simplified enough that if we can take this to the next level and figure out what role they're playing into this, it allows us to communicate back and forth better with them. So that would be my challenge as we evolve this over the next quarter, is figure out what the role they play and bring this full circle so it is a complete game. Right now, we're entertaining, we're performing, however you want to view that. The bottom line is they're the ones paying for us, so how do we get them involved actively in this as well? So that would be my challenge.
I really agree.
Other thoughts from the phone?
Hey, this is Kyle. I love this. And you may have said it early on, but just to be sure I heard it. Who's the customer? How do they fit into the analogy?
Yeah, I don't know. Why do you have to burst my bubble? Maybe they're the ones in the
They're in
field.
the stands.
Fans?
They're in the
They can't be in the
stands.
stands.
The answer is they're the fans, right?
Yeah.
And our goal is to
They've
make
gone
raving
through it.
fans who want to hang out with us and watch us play. and
Perpetual.
have a
Yeah,
double get
die
with it.
hard.
They can't be the fans because the goal. I mean, if the goal is the end zone, we need to be working with them to overcome the obstacles to get to the end zone.
Anthony says the ball.
So I gotta say that it really is the fans. It has to be. The fans want to watch us for years and years, and they want us to get into the end zone, right? They may define the end zone, but they're not in the end zone. They're on the side, hoping we do our part to get them where they want to go, and then they're going to come back the next Sunday, and the next Sunday, and the next Sunday.
And they help us
And
along.
that's a big part of why we're even talking about this, right? Is to have customers for life. And one of the greatest books written about customer experience talks about raving fans. And we can make them another part of our analogy, but we don't want to lose the idea that we're trying to make fans out of them by achieving their goals, which is scoring touchdowns and doing it in a cool way.
Yeah, well, not to keep belaboring the point, but maybe we need to make a distinction what we're talking about. So if I'm at inches away, I want Catherine and Hans to be our fans, but I need Susan Valenz and Dave and those guys to be on our team.
Yeah. So what are the roles and what's the roster? And sometimes the client could fill the roster, right? That's what you're saying. I really like the idea of the fans being the goal, right? Because the whole idea is to become America's team and to Kyle's point, have the team that people want to pay to actually go watch.
You want them buying paraphernalia and $8 beers.
And
You hear all the time in sports that, the fan is the 12th man. So, I mean, if we have fans, they will be on our team, and they'll be an important part of our team. I would also say that the fans don't always care whether or not we win the Super Bowl, as long as they're a team that they can love and appreciate. I've been a Coke fan for a long time, and still waiting for that elusive World Series. I'm still waiting for the playoffs, but I'm still a huge fan, and it's a big part of that.
I really like the idea of the client being the 12th man. That's a cool idea.
Yeah. A couple other quick thoughts about it. One is our quarterback is the client program manager. The way we're structuring that role, that person doesn't have all the answers. What they're quarterbacking is the march down to the end zone. And when a strategy needs to be changed or a way needs to be changed, that's where we need our experts in the huddle saying that's what we need to do. And ultimately, I think in our offense, the quarterback doesn't really call the play. That's coming from the statement of work, or it's coming from practice leaders, or it's coming from the wisdom of the team. They're just responsible for making sure the play is called and that we're delivering on the march down the field to the end zone. So we got to be careful that our CPMs don't take that as they're now actually going to call an audible on what the goal is or where the end zone is, but more on solving the problems to make sure that we get past 4th and 1.
Yeah, I mean, you could keep going on that, right? Certainly audibles are about audibles on the play, not the goal. The goal is always the goal, and it's defined, in our case, in the statement of work. Until it's changed, that's the goal. You could even go so far as to say, there has to be a transition